Okay, shooter ready. Stand by.
Alright guys, so as you can see, this is a Rock Island box. So let's see what we got in here. Boom. This is the STK100. So this is a full-size Glock 17 copy, Gen 3, but it's got an aluminum frame. So this thing is quite a bit heavier than a standard Gen 317, but it's packed with a bunch of features for the price point. So let's get into those. Alright, so let's take a look at this thing. So obviously, it being a Glock 17, it takes standard 17 round magazines, which is a huge bonus. This one only comes with one. It's a STK branded mag. I'm pretty sure this is just a Korean import. It is steel lined and seems to work, but time will tell. Obviously, I would just go out and buy some either Magpul or standard Glock 17 mags, and away you go. So, this thing, take a look at the sights. So you have blacked out rear, standard white dot front, so you don't have the typical Glock little ball cup kind of thing. This thing comes with factory lightning cuts on the slide, which should help it cycle faster, which should, and obviously it's a lighter mass, so it should reduce felt recoil. I think the frame being significantly heavier is really what makes the reduced recoil feel. This thing also, from the factory, is cut kind of oddly for a dot. So these things, this is June of 2020, these things have been out for over a year. Their price point has come down quite a bit. Currently MSRP is $3.99, which for this is pretty sweet. Cut for a dot. However, this factory cut that they have is for the like Vortex Venom and Viper red dots. So here in a little bit, I'll probably see if I can throw a dot on there and see what we can do. They are supposed to be coming out with different adapter plates. I have not seen them on Rock Island's website as of today when I'm filming it. They still haven't done anything, but time will tell. Maybe you can call customer service and get different plates, because this screams that it wants a hollow sun on it. So, like a typical Glock, this thing comes apart the exact same way. You'll pull down the little tabs and slide this bad boy off. This does come with a full-length guide rod. It's steel instead of plastic like a standard Glock, and then I'm assuming you can just open it up and change spring weights, which this is kind of designed to be a competition gun, so that would make sense that people would be swapping out guide rod springs quite a bit to tune their load. It is a fairly standard Glock copy, as it should be. Parts compatibility from the other little videos that I've seen, and from Glock themselves, Rock Island themselves, like 80 or so percent. Factory barrels don't drop in. They require a little bit of fitting, which shouldn't take somebody a whole lot of time, but I would recommend taking it to a competent gunsmith if you're not 100% sure of your ability. These do use a non-standard rifling. These are 1 in 16 twist instead of Glock's typical 1 in 10. So I have heard or have read reports of keyholing and that sort of stuff. I have not run into that issue myself. For the lower, this thing is not a single piece of aluminum. This has got a nice little seam like human beings. It's got a butt crack all the way around it. All the pieces are serialized though to the frame, so that's at least kind of cool that it goes through an entire process and it's all matched together, so you know that it's going to work. Typical Glock trigger. This actually has a lightened competition trigger in it, which ran into a bunch of issues with CCI primers. So some of the other stuff that I have with me today, I have a Zev trigger kit and a Ghost trigger kit that has a 4-pound and 6-pound striker spring, and that seems to have fixed the issue. I pulled one out of just a stacked factory P80 and stuck it in there, and I have not had light primer strikes with CCI primered anything so far. Didn't have any issues with S&Bs at all, which I find a little surprising, but CCIs are apparently a little slightly thicker cup, a little harder, so that part adds up. This, instead of having takedown pins, because obviously it's two halves, these are screwed together. You can see multiple points where they're attached together. It feels great. I'm going to throw a bunch more rounds down range with this thing over the next coming months and presumably years and that sort of thing. So we will see how well it holds up. I do plan to take everything apart at some point, not only for a video and my own knowledge, because I want to know how this thing fully takes apart and goes back together, because it is non-standard. So I'll probably do a small video on that once I actually just take the clamshell apart. I'm going to do a little bit of trigger stuff today, probably just play with that plunger spring. I've got a 4-pound, 6-pound, a reduced ZEV, and see if I can get a slightly better trigger than it has now while still retaining its reliability. That's what I care about the most. It being reliable on every single primer that it hits is the most important part to me. The factory trigger, way better than the one that the feel of it is way better than what's in it now. This is definitely noticeably heavier, but it's also 100% reliable versus hit and miss. These do come with an ever so slightly beveled mag well and stuff. It's not extended or anything. They also come with an extended beaver tail, so you guys who are getting slide bite with your big meaty hands, you probably won't have that problem. I can't get bit if I try. I don't have gigantic dick beaters or anything, but no issues for me so far. And I'm going to spin the camera around. I'm going to set up a piece of steel, and we're going to shoot her with some iron sights, and then I'm going to spin this bad boy off and throw on a red dot and see what we can do. One interesting note about this plate is the rear sight is integrated into it. So when you take this off, when you take the cover off to throw a red dot on, unfortunately you do lose your rear sight, which I get as a competition gun. It's not really that big of a deal because I don't care about backup iron sights on a competition gun, because if it breaks, I just go get a spare gun or whatever. It's a match, who cares? As a defensive gun, that would worry me a little bit more. However, most people I see that run red dots don't run tall enough sights to be able to use them anyways, so your mileage may vary. I'm torn. If I was to use that in a defensive encounter, obviously my go-to is a rifle that has a red dot or an optic of some sort and backup iron sights. So if my primary firearm fails, if my LMT goes down, and this is my sidearm of choice, let's say, and then the red dot on that goes down, and I'm reduced to using iron sights on a handgun, my life has gone terribly, terribly wrong. And if I can't solve the problem by just point shooting, I probably don't deserve to live anyhow. So it having a set of backup iron sights is really, really low on my list, but I get that will bug some people. So we are enjoying the rain on this June day. So I'm going to put the camera over the side, set up some steel, and let's go see if we can hit some stuff. So hang on. Alright, so I'm a one-man band today, so I'm going to use the front-facing camera. I'm going to step off to the side. I'm probably 8-10 yards away. It's hard to use the front-facing camera and get far enough back from so you can still see the target in the corner and me in the other side of the shot. So 7-10 yards, something like that. We're going to use iron sights. I'm going to start with that STK mag, and then I've got two brand new Glock brand Glock mags that are literally fresh out of the package that I loaded, 10 rounds a piece in each of them. We're just going to fire 30 rounds real quick at this piece of steel yard at 10 yards, see how the iron sights do, and then we'll mix it up a little bit. So here we go. Going hot, so in frame. Here we go. Well, I guess we'll put those in a different pocket. Alright, so factory Glock mag. Here we go. Alright, and last but not least, I'm going to slide over a little closer to the camera so hopefully you guys can get a little better shot. Let's move the camera. Let's pivot. All right, so we can see the steel. I'm gonna get a little closer. All right, here we go. See if we can get some recoil on this bad boy. All right, so there were 30 rounds through this STK100 with the factory iron sights, 10 yards, 2/3 silhouette. Obviously, it's not a real hard target to hit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go hide from the rain real quick. I'm gonna throw a red dot on, probably fire a couple of shots off camera just to see if I can hit the target, if it's close enough to zero to do some shooting. If not, I'll throw a paper target up and I'll shoot some groups and kind of walk the zero in. So stand by. Alrighty, I'm back. So I threw the red dot on real quick, and then so this right here is the plate when you take it off. So it's actually a real kind of interesting design that the rear sight is integrated into this top plate, but probably reduces costs and time of manufacture. I know that's why this is a clamshell, is the reason why it's manufactured in 2 halves, is because it's just faster to machine than a single block of aluminum, which I totally understand. I respect the game. There's more than one way to play, so why worry about it? So here we have the Vortex Venom Red Dot, and we're going to see, there we go. So you can see that the dot's on, kind of hard to find, but there we go. So it should be close enough. I slid the camera a little bit further back, so I'm probably still 10-12 yards away. So I'm gonna actually stand. Of course, let's move the camera. All right, so I'm gonna stand on this side of the camera. I'm still 10 or 12 yards away. We're gonna try that STK magazine again. We should be close to zeroed, or at least zeroed enough for this distance and stuff. So eventually I'll put this gun on a sandbag and shoot at a known distance and stuff, and fine-tune the zero after I Loctite the screws and stuff. But just kind of for the first shots, I probably got 150 rounds through this thing so far, and since I replaced the striker spring, I've had 0 issues. So I'm going to shoot this with a red dot, and then I'm probably going to take this whole thing apart and start playing with springs. So here we go. So 10-12 yards with the red dot. Let's see if we can see what this recoil looks like. So pretty easy to shoot with both eyes open with this thing. With the added weight, even when I'm not gripping it super duper hard, if I'm aiming, say, center of chest, when I recoil, it's kind of up and to the left. So on this silhouette, there's the center bolt, and then there's the 2 outer holes for different ways to mount this. I am recoiling from the center of the chest to that. It would be the top right bolt, but it's actually, while I'm looking at it, it's to the left. So I'm recoiling up and to the left, would be the right shoulder of the silhouette. And it's fairly easy to maintain the recoil from the center of the chest to that bolt hole and back. So it's just, let's grip a little harder and see if we can keep this dead center. Yeah, so gripping a little harder. I notice the rounds kind of impacting lower into the right, but I'm definitely squeezing and torquing on that thing to try to keep it from not going up and off the steel while I recoil. Super manageable. I haven't shot pistols with red dots a whole lot yet. This will hopefully change that. The Glock 19 that I have copy works pretty well, but the added weight of this thing is just stupid fun. This thing is stupid for recoil management compared to like a polymer frame. Obviously, you have a ton of added weight versus a polymer gun, which I get is why you would go with it. If I was going to conceal carry, Glock 19, Glock 17, or this, obviously I would choose a Glock 17 over this. They're the exact same size, but just the sheer weight of this lugging around in a holster all day, like, I get why people use polymer frame guns. For range use or duty use, something like that, where it's on a good sturdy outside the waistband belt and you're not super duper worried about concealability, I get where polymer guns or metal frame guns reign supreme, especially in competition, just from the weight aspect, and there's no getting around it. This is one of those, it's a game where weight is your friend in the right places. She need to be thin thick, if you know what I mean. So the gun just needs weight in the right places. The light and slide, I'm sure, does help reduce felt recoil because there's not near as much mass going back, but it's not that noticeable. If I was gonna shoot competitions, that sort of stuff, and I had a relatively low budget to get into the game to start playing, one of these would be pretty high on my list. So for, say, 400 bucks for the gun, and then if you're going to run a dot, which depending on the game that you're playing, because they are games, no matter how anybody wants to slice it, they're games, they have rules. So you're probably 600 bucks, 500, depending on what you can score a dot for. Hopefully they'll come out with the adapter plate so you could run some different optics, because I think this with the Holosun would be pretty dope. So until next time, Rick from 406 out.